Capricorns, are you feeling a little out of sync this June? Maybe you're stuck in a cycle of overworking, always striving for perfection, or pushing away emotions that desperately need to be expressed. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. This month, the universe has something big in store for you, an opportunity to break free from a habit that's been quietly holding you back from true peace and success. But here's the thing, this isn't just any wake-up call. It's a cosmic invitation to take a good, hard look at the patterns that have been draining your energy, blocking your joy, and preventing you from achieving the balance you crave. June is here to shake things up, and I'm here to help you navigate these shifts with clarity and wisdom. In today's video, we're diving deep into the one habit every Capricorn needs to end now. Whether you've been ignoring your emotional needs, overworking yourself to the point of burnout, or constantly battling the fear of failure, this is your moment to make a change. So if you're ready to embrace a more peaceful, balanced life and step into the version of yourself that's been waiting to emerge, stick around. But before we get into all that, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, like, and share this video with your fellow Capricorns who might be feeling the same way. Trust me, you won't want to miss the insights I'm about to share. Let's get started. Capricorns, June has arrived, and with it, a cosmic push that's urging you to make some big changes. If you've been feeling a little off lately, like no matter how hard you work or how many tasks you check off your list, there's still something missing, it's because the universe has been calling you to reflect and release. There's one habit that's been quietly holding you back, draining your energy, and blocking your path to peace and fulfillment. It's a habit you might not even realize is there, until now. Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm a Capricorn, I thrive on structure and hard work. What could possibly be wrong with that? But here's the catch, Capricorns have a tendency to go overboard. The need to keep pushing yourself, to achieve, to be perfect, can become an invisible cage. The hustle becomes all-consuming, and the very traits that make you so successful can also keep you locked in a cycle of stress and burnout. June is calling you to break free from that cycle. So let's start with the first shift you need to make, recognizing that overwork is your escape. For most Capricorns, the drive to achieve success is rooted in an intense fear of not being good enough. It's like there's this invisible scoreboard in your mind, and you're always playing catch-up, always striving for that next milestone. But here's the thing, Capricorn, the work never ends. You could keep climbing that mountain forever and still feel unfulfilled. The problem isn't your ambition, it's your relationship with work. When you tie your self-worth exclusively to what you can produce, you lose sight of your humanity. You forget that success isn't just about working harder, it's about finding harmony between effort and rest, between ambition and self-compassion. If you're reading this and feeling a little uncomfortable, it's probably because you've been caught in this cycle. Maybe it's that feeling of guilt when you try to relax or the voice in your head that tells you to keep going, no matter how exhausted you are. One of the biggest challenges you face is breaking this connection between work and your worth. Let's take a look at a real example. I know a Capricorn who worked herself to the brink of burnout because she felt like if she didn't keep pushing, she would fall behind. She never gave herself permission to pause. Even when she was on vacation, her mind was still racing with thoughts of what she should be doing. It wasn't until she hit a wall and her body literally forced her to stop that she realized how unhealthy this constant drive was. So, here's a tip, try setting boundaries around your work hours. Yes, I'm talking about a hard stop. At a certain hour, make it a non-negotiable rule to step away from work. Trust me, your mind and body will thank you. But here's where it gets interesting. The habit of overworking is often a way to avoid feeling vulnerable. Capricorns are notorious for keeping their emotions close to the chest. You've learned over the years that to be strong, you have to keep it together at all costs. So, emotions get buried. Feelings of doubt, fear, even sadness, anything that feels like weakness, is pushed aside. But you see, Capricorn, that's not strength. True strength comes from the ability to express yourself, to allow your emotions to flow freely without fear of judgment. June is pushing you to break free from this emotional repression and allow yourself to feel. It's okay to not have it all together all the time. In fact, letting your guard down can actually make you more resilient. I want to share a story from another Capricorn I know. She's a brilliant businesswoman, but for years, she prided herself on being the strong, silent type, the one who never let anyone see her vulnerabilities. She was always the one with the answers. Always in control. But when a personal crisis hit, she found herself overwhelmed with emotions she hadn't processed in years. It was only when she started letting herself feel, and talking about what she was going through, that she was able to heal. This emotional release wasn't a sign of weakness, it was the beginning of her true strength. So, here's a tip: journaling can be an amazing tool to help you process emotions. Write down your thoughts and feelings without judgment, and let them flow. Don't hold back. You'll be amazed at what comes up when you create a safe space for your emotions. Next, let's talk about the fear of failure. This is one that really gets to you, doesn't it? You work so hard, sometimes to the point of exhaustion, because you're terrified of failing. But here's the kicker: the fear of failure often leads to inaction. It's a paradox. The more you fear something, the more you avoid taking risks, and the more you stay stuck. You think, I'll just work a little harder, perfect this a little more, and then I'll be ready. But you're never really ready, because perfection doesn't exist. And even if you did reach perfection, there would always be something else to chase. It's an endless cycle of stress and fear. I want to tell you about a Capricorn I worked with who was paralyzed by the fear of making a mistake. She had a brilliant idea for a business but kept delaying it because she was so afraid it wouldn't be perfect. She researched endlessly, tweaked her business plan over and over, but never launched. And the truth is, she was getting in her own way. So, I gave her this advice: just start. It won't be perfect. You'll make mistakes. And that's okay. When she finally took the leap, it wasn't perfect, but it was real. And that's when the magic happened. So, here's a tip for you: embrace imperfection. Set a timeline for when you will take action, even if things aren't perfect. The key is momentum, not perfection. And remember, failure is not the opposite of success, it's a part of it. Every mistake is a lesson, every setback is an opportunity to grow. The fourth shift that June is asking you to make is about breaking free from isolation. Capricorns are often independent to a fault. You pride yourself on being self-sufficient. And sometimes, that means you carry the weight of the world on your shoulders without asking for help. But isolation is a silent killer. It can leave you feeling exhausted, misunderstood, and ultimately disconnected from your true self. I've seen this happen time and time again with Capricorns. Because they don't want to burden others, they end up carrying their struggles alone, pushing people away in the process. But the truth is, asking for help is a strength, not a weakness. I remember a Capricorn friend who kept pushing everyone away because she didn't want to seem vulnerable. But over time, her isolation started to take a toll on her. She was always stressed, overwhelmed, and felt like no one understood her. When she finally let down her walls and started leaning on her friends and colleagues for support, she was amazed at how much lighter she felt. She wasn't any less capable or strong, but she was now able to share her load. So here's a tip: allow yourself to be supported. Reach out to your loved ones. Be open about your struggles, and let them help you carry the load. The people who care about you want to be there for you, it's okay to let them in. Lastly, it's time for you to reclaim your balance. Capricorns are naturally drawn to productivity and success, but sometimes you lose sight of the importance of rest and self-care. You've probably experienced that moment when you've been working non-stop, and you've hit a wall, your body and mind just can't take anymore. June is a reminder that your well-being is just as important as your achievements. It's not about burning the candle at both ends. You need to create space for relaxation, rejuvenation, and joy. I know a Capricorn who thought she could keep going forever without taking a break. She'd work late into the night, then wake up early the next morning to do it all over again. But after a few months of this, she was mentally and physically exhausted. It wasn't until she started scheduling regular breaks, taking weekends off, setting boundaries with work, and even going on small vacations, that she truly started feeling more energized and focused. It wasn't about working harder, it was about working smarter. So, here's a tip for you: create a self-care routine that includes regular downtime. Whether it's meditation, reading, or taking long walks in nature, make time for what nourishes your soul. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. By making these shifts this June, you'll start to feel a greater sense of peace, balance, and fulfillment. But remember, Capricorn, change doesn't happen overnight. Be patient with yourself, trust the process, and know that every small step you take toward releasing these habits is a victory. You've got this. And when you're ready to take the next step in your journey, you'll have the tools you need to create a life that truly reflects your highest potential. As June unfolds, Capricorns may begin to feel that inner nudge, a sense of cosmic tension that's urging them to reevaluate their life's direction. The usual drive for success, for achievement, and the ambition that fuels your every move is still present, but something deeper, something more insistent, is pushing you to question your habits and routines. This isn't just about doing more, it's about doing better. More specifically, it's about releasing a certain habit that's been quietly standing in your way for far too long. One of the most important realizations is understanding that for you, work has become a refuge. It's a place where you can lose yourself, where the weight of life's uncertainties or emotional struggles can be tucked away behind deadlines and achievements. Yet, what you may not realize is that in your quest for perfection and accomplishment, you've created a barrier between you and the life you actually desire. This habit of overworking, of pushing yourself beyond reasonable limits, is an escape from emotional discomfort, uncertainty, or fear. When you're buried in your work, you don't have to face what's truly bothering you. But June is showing you that this isn't sustainable. The universe isn't asking you to work harder. It's inviting you to stop and acknowledge the deeper issues that are seeking your attention. Take, for instance, a Capricorn I know, a man who's spent most of his career as a top executive. He's brilliant, determined, and hardworking, but when it came to his personal life, he was always missing in action. After long hours at work, when he should have been resting or spending time with his family, he'd always find another project to dive into. It wasn't until his partner sat him down one evening and said, "I don't know who you are anymore, you're always working," that he was forced to see the truth. The work was a defense mechanism. It was a way to avoid his fear of emotional vulnerability. The fear of not being good enough outside of his professional identity. His worth had become tied so deeply to his work that he couldn't separate the two. In his case, the change wasn't easy. But once he realized that his need to overwork was a sign of deeper emotional avoidance, he started to create boundaries. He learned to shut off his computer at a certain hour and focus on his personal relationships and well-being. This wasn't an easy shift, but it was a necessary one. And the results were powerful. Not only did his emotional well-being improve, but his productivity also became sharper, because he learned that balance breeds success, not endless effort. As you reflect on this, Capricorn, think about the last time you allowed yourself a true break. Not a break to run errands or answer emails, but a break where you did nothing for just a moment. Can you remember? I bet it's been a while. But here's the truth, without moments of rest and reflection, your mind doesn't have the space to breathe. Without rest, there's no room for creativity, growth, or even joy. So how do you create that space for yourself? Start small. Schedule one evening a week where you do absolutely nothing related to work. Put away your phone. Shut down your laptop and let your mind wander. It's in those moments of stillness that you will reconnect with what truly matters, and that's the energy you need to take your life to the next level. This brings us to another powerful shift that June is urging you to make: the release of emotional suppression. Capricorns often find themselves in the role of the stoic leader, the person who's always in control, always composed, and rarely shows weakness. While there's strength in emotional control, there's also a price to pay. Suppressing emotions, burying them deep inside, might seem like a form of strength. But over time, it becomes a pressure cooker, one that eventually explodes or silently erodes your peace. I want you to think back to a time when you felt overwhelmed, perhaps by a difficult situation at work or in your personal life. What did you do? Most Capricorns, in such moments, retreat inward, convincing themselves they can handle it alone. They suppress the feelings, put on a brave face, and press forward. But here's the thing: emotions are not weaknesses. They are signals. When you push them down, you're ignoring valuable feedback from your inner self. Emotional suppression often leads to long-term consequences, like burnout, anxiety, or even physical health problems. Your body will eventually protest. Take the case of a Capricorn woman I once worked with. She was a powerhouse in her field, admired for her impeccable work ethic and ability to juggle multiple responsibilities at once. But beneath the surface, she was struggling with deep emotional turmoil. She had experienced a painful breakup a few years ago and had never truly dealt with the grief. Instead, she buried herself in work, convincing herself that as long as she was successful, she was okay. But the truth was, she wasn't. She was emotionally exhausted, and it was starting to show in her relationships and in her energy levels. When we spoke about her tendency to suppress her emotions, she admitted that she didn't want to appear weak to others. But once she began acknowledging and expressing her feelings, the healing process began. She learned that vulnerability wasn't a sign of weakness, it was a sign of emotional maturity and strength. Now, she takes the time to process her emotions regularly through journaling and talking to close friends. It wasn't an instant change, but it made all the difference in her overall well-being. So here's my advice to you: stop avoiding your feelings. Allow yourself to feel, to grieve, to celebrate. Your emotions are not your enemies, they are your guides. The more you suppress them, the more they'll control you from the shadows. You don't need to do this alone. Talking to a therapist or a trusted friend can make all the difference in helping you unpack and process what's going on beneath the surface. Another powerful habit that needs to end is the constant fear of failure that holds you captive. Capricorns are notorious for their perfectionism. The fear of making a mistake can paralyze you into inaction. You know that feeling all too well, the constant need to get everything perfect before you move forward. But here's the truth, Capricorn: perfection doesn't exist. And the constant search board is simply a way of avoiding the risk of failure. I've seen it time and time again: Capricorns who stay stuck because they're afraid of taking a leap without knowing exactly what's going to happen. This fear keeps you in a box, stuck in the planning phase, never fully stepping into your true potential. But here's what you need to know: failure isn't the opposite of success. It's a part of the process. The real failure is in never trying, in never learning, growing, and adapting. One Capricorn I know had an idea for a creative project, something that could have been truly groundbreaking. But he was so terrified of it not being perfect, of making a mistake, that he never even started. He kept tweaking and adjusting, but in the end, the project never saw the light of day. It wasn't until a mentor asked him, "How long are you going to let perfectionism stand in your way?" that he realized how much time he'd wasted. The moment he let go of the need for perfection and started working with what he had, his project took off. Was it flawless from the start? No. But it was real, it was progress, and it was something he could build on. The lesson here is simple: embrace imperfection. Perfection will only hold you back. Instead, start moving forward with what you have. Take the first step, and the rest will follow. In that same vein, it's essential for you to start reaching out for support. Capricorns tend to be fiercely independent, often to a fault. The idea of asking for help can feel like a personal failure or a sign of weakness. But here's the truth: seeking support is one of the strongest things you can do. You don't have to do everything by yourself. And while you may feel like you're burdening others, the reality is that most people genuinely want to help, they just need you to let them in. A Capricorn I worked with recently was overwhelmed with the weight of her responsibilities at work and at home. She was the person everyone relied on, but she was starting to crumble under the pressure. After a deep conversation, she realized she had been carrying everything alone for far too long. Her breakthrough came when she started reaching out to colleagues for help and delegating tasks to others. Suddenly, she wasn't doing it all on her own, and the stress was lifted. Here's my advice: ask for help. Whether it's at work, at home, or in your personal life, lean on the people who care about you. It's not a weakness, it's a strength. And by doing so, you'll create the space you need to thrive. Lastly, the constant drive to succeed can sometimes lead you to forget what truly matters: your well-being. The pressure to succeed, to achieve, can make you forget to pause and take care of yourself. You might find yourself skipping meals, neglecting sleep, or working through the weekends because the next goal is always in sight. But here's the truth: without your health, your physical and mental well-being, nothing else matters. Capricorn, your body is your most valuable asset. If you don't nurture it, everything else will suffer. So, make a commitment to prioritize your health. Exercise regularly, eat nutritious foods, and make sure you're getting the rest you need. It's not about being perfect. It's about finding balance. There's no magic formula, but when you learn to slow down, to step away from the hustle, and to focus on your well-being, you will find that everything else, your work, your relationships, your happiness, will improve as well. Start small, but make these changes now. Your future self will thank you. As we enter June, Capricorns find themselves at a crossroads. The stars are shining a light on habits that have become ingrained over the years, habits that once served you, but now hold you back. For many Capricorns, your identity is deeply intertwined with hard work, responsibility, and the relentless pursuit of success. But the cosmic energies of June are nudging you to reconsider one key behavior that's been quietly draining you: your tendency to isolate emotionally and push others away. Capricorns often pride themselves on their independence. You're used to handling everything on your own, whether it's work, relationships, or personal challenges. Asking for help, for you, can feel like a failure or a sign of weakness. It's a trait that many Capricorns carry with them their entire lives. You've convinced yourself that you're strong enough to do it all by yourself, that you don't need anyone. But the reality is, when you push people away, you're not actually strengthening yourself. You're isolating yourself. One Capricorn I know went through years of emotional isolation without even realizing it. She had built this invisible wall around herself, and as much as she loved her friends and family, she kept them at arm's length. She was the first to help others, the first to volunteer. But when it came to her own needs, she would withdraw. Her friends had no idea what was really going on in her life, and she kept quiet about her struggles, thinking it was easier that way. It wasn't until one of her closest friends finally noticed the distance and asked, "Why don't you ever let us in?" that she realized how much she had been holding back. The breakthrough came when she finally opened up, allowing herself to be vulnerable with the people who cared about her. The moment she stopped isolating herself, she felt an immense sense of relief. Her relationships deepened, her stress levels dropped, and she began to feel lighter. It wasn't that she became dependent on others, it was that she learned to ask for the support she needed, without feeling weak. So, Capricorn, it's time to start breaking down those walls. The next time you feel yourself pulling away, remember that reaching out is a sign of emotional maturity, not weakness. Whether it's confiding in a close friend, asking for help at work, or simply letting someone in when you're having a hard time, opening up can lighten your load. You don't have to carry everything alone. Leaning on others won't diminish your strength, it will actually help you become even stronger. But emotional isolation isn't the only habit that's holding you back. Another key aspect of your personality that may be getting in the way is your tendency to hold on to perfectionism. You are constantly striving for excellence in everything you do. Your attention to detail is unparalleled, and your drive to succeed is admirable. But this relentless pursuit of perfection can be crippling. It keeps you stuck in a cycle of never feeling good enough, never feeling like you've done enough. And, as many Capricorns discover too late, it can keep you from enjoying the very success you've worked so hard for. Take, for example, a Capricorn I know who's an entrepreneur. She had an idea for a business that was brilliant, yet for years, she never launched it. She kept fine-tuning her business plan, perfecting the logo, obsessing over every little detail until it was just right. But the perfect plan never materialized because she was paralyzed by the idea that it had to be flawless from the start. In the end, it wasn't her idea that failed, it was her fear of imperfection. She finally took the leap when she realized that her pursuit of perfection was holding her back. Once she launched her business, things weren't perfect, of course not. There were mistakes, hiccups, and setbacks. But she learned that those imperfections were part of the process. She adapted, learned, and grew from each misstep. And within a year, her business was thriving. For you, Capricorn, the lesson is clear. You're not meant to be perfect. And perfection is not what will bring you peace or fulfillment. It's the ability to take action, to make mistakes, and to learn from them that will lead you to your greatest successes. Stop waiting for everything to fall into place before you take action. Start now, even if things aren't perfect. Give yourself permission to take imperfect action and trust that the universe will guide you. Another deeply ingrained habit that June is calling you to release is your fear of failure. For Capricorns, the idea of failing is often seen as the worst-case scenario. You have an innate fear of falling short, of not meeting expectations, whether it's your own or someone else's. And this fear can become paralyzing. Instead of taking risks, you play it safe, avoiding anything that could potentially lead to failure. But here's the thing, playing it safe isn't the path to growth. And it certainly isn't the path to fulfillment. I remember working with a Capricorn who was an incredibly talented artist. He had a gift for painting, but his fear of rejection kept him from showing his work to anyone. His studio was filled with incredible pieces, but they were all hidden away. He was terrified that if people saw his work, they wouldn't like it, or they'd criticize him. It wasn't until a friend of his finally pushed him to share his art at a local gallery that he realized what he had been missing. Not only did he receive positive feedback, but he also sold his first painting that night. The fear of failure, the fear of rejection, had kept him locked away in his own mind. But once he stepped out of his comfort zone, he found freedom. Capricorn, you're afraid of failure because you tie your worth to success. But success isn't just about the end result, it's about the journey. Every mistake, every setback is part of your growth. Let go of the fear, take risks, and learn along the way. Failure isn't a reflection of your worth, it's a stepping stone to something greater. So, take that leap of faith. Start that project. Speak your truth. The universe has your back, even when things don't go as planned. The habit of avoiding vulnerability and emotional expression also ties into another key lesson that June has for you, the need to release control. Capricorns are natural-born leaders. And you take great pride in being able to control situations and outcomes. But that need for control can quickly turn into something toxic. When you feel like you have to be in charge of every detail, it can leave you feeling overwhelmed and stressed. You may find yourself micromanaging situations or people, thinking that if you don't take the reins, things will fall apart. But the truth is, life has a way of unfolding, and the more tightly you grip the reins, the more you strangle the flow of life. A Capricorn I know in a leadership role at a non-profit organization was constantly stressed out because she felt she had to manage every little aspect of the organization. She would hover over her team, checking every email, approving every decision, and trying to ensure that everything was done her way. While her dedication was admirable, it was causing her significant stress. And it was affecting her team's morale. After some reflection, she realized that her need for control was actually preventing her team from growing and succeeding. So, she made a conscious decision to delegate more, to trust her team, and to step back. The result? The organization thrived, and she found herself with more space and time for her own well-being. For you, Capricorn, this is the perfect time to let go of the illusion that you can control everything. Delegate. Trust. Let life unfold as it will. You don't need to have all the answers. In fact, sometimes the best thing you can do is simply allow things to happen as they are meant to. Finally, the need for balance is something you cannot ignore any longer. Capricorns are notorious for their drive and ambition, but that doesn't mean you have to sacrifice everything else in pursuit of success. The balance between work and life, between giving to others and giving to yourself, is the key to a peaceful, fulfilling existence. If you constantly put your work above everything else, you will eventually burn out. Your mind, body, and spirit need rest and nourishment in order to keep up with the demands you place on them. Take, for example, a Capricorn I worked with who was constantly working late into the night. Never taking weekends off, always chasing the next big project. She had no time for herself, for relaxation, or for fun. Eventually, it caught up with her. She started feeling physically drained, emotionally detached, and mentally exhausted. It wasn't until she made a commitment to take weekends off and focus on activities that nourished her soul, whether it was hiking, reading, or simply being with her family, that she started feeling rejuvenated. You, Capricorn, need to honor your own need for rest and relaxation. You're not a machine. Your worth isn't just in what you accomplish. It's in who you are. Start by creating space for yourself each day, whether it's 10 minutes of deep breathing, a walk in nature, or an evening spent with loved ones. Your work will be better. Your relationships will thrive, and your mind will be clearer when you give yourself the gift of balance. June is the time for you to make these shifts, Capricorn. To stop overworking. To stop isolating yourself, to stop striving for perfection, to stop fearing failure, and to stop holding on to control. When you release these habits, you'll find yourself more aligned with your true purpose and peace. As we dive deeper into June, it's clear that this month offers you, Capricorn, a unique opportunity to reflect and transform. While you are known for your drive, determination, and your ability to endure through challenges, there's a deeper, more profound shift awaiting you. You've been asked to release long-standing habits that no longer serve your highest self. If you've been feeling like something is blocking your peace of mind, like you're constantly fighting against a wave, it might be because one crucial habit needs to end now. And trust me, this habit isn't what you might think at first glance. It's not about working harder, it's about letting go of self-criticism and learning to be kinder to yourself. As a Capricorn, you've been conditioned to hold yourself to extremely high standards. This is often what drives your success and resilience. However, there's a dark side to that drive. The tendency to be harsh on yourself, to constantly judge your every move, can make you feel like you're never enough. The fear of making mistakes, of not meeting expectations, whether your own or those of others, has held you back in more ways than you realize. This constant self-criticism prevents you from fully enjoying your successes and leaves you in a perpetual state of anxiety. I know a Capricorn who, despite being incredibly successful in his career, felt deep down that he wasn't doing enough. Every achievement, no matter how impressive, was dismissed with, "Well, that's just what's expected of me." He could never enjoy the fruits of his labor because he was too busy focusing on the next challenge. His inner dialogue was constantly filled with self-judgment. It wasn't until he hit a wall, emotionally and mentally, that he realized how destructive this was. So, what did he do? He began to practice self-compassion. This is not the same as complacency or lowering standards. Instead, it's about giving yourself credit where credit is due and recognizing that you are human. We all have flaws. We all make mistakes, but these things do not define us. Over time, this shift in mindset allowed him to appreciate his progress, to enjoy his victories, and to be kinder to himself. As you move through June, Capricorn, make a commitment to ease up on yourself. Start by noticing when your internal dialogue turns critical. Whenever that harsh voice comes in, challenge it. Instead of thinking, I could have done better, try thinking, I did my best, and that's enough. Over time, you'll start to create a healthier relationship with yourself. One that isn't rooted in perfection but in growth, compassion, and understanding. Capricorn, as you continue to evolve, there's also a need for you to stop avoiding your feelings. Capricorns are known for their emotional stoicism. You've learned to deal with challenges in a practical way, often burying your emotions because you believe they'll make you weak or distracted. The idea of showing your vulnerabilities has always felt like a risk, especially when you've been taught to keep it together no matter what. But June is telling you that it's time to stop hiding. Your emotions are a vital part of who you are, and they shouldn't be ignored or pushed aside. When you repress them, they manifest in ways that can affect your mental health, your relationships, and even your physical well-being. Take, for example, another Capricorn I know who had been struggling with an emotionally intense situation at work for months. She was in a high-pressure position, constantly managing stressful situations, and never allowed herself to acknowledge the emotional toll it was taking on her. It wasn't until she broke down in front of her team during an important meeting that she realized how much she had been holding in. But this breakdown was actually a turning point. Her vulnerability didn't make her less capable, in fact, it made her stronger. Her team was able to step in and support her, and they worked together to manage the stress in a way that was more balanced. So, Capricorn, this is your wake-up call. Stop running from your emotions. Feel them. Let them pass through you. Whether it's through journaling, meditation, or simply talking with a close friend. Allow yourself to process what you've been holding back. This doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. It's through embracing your emotions that you'll find true strength and clarity. Finally, the cosmic energies this June are asking you to let go of the need to control everything. Capricorns, you have a natural inclination to take charge, to set the tone, and to ensure that things are done properly. This is part of your charm and your work ethic, but it can also create unnecessary pressure. The truth is, not everything can be controlled, and the need to micromanage every detail can lead to burnout, stress, and missed opportunities. Learning to trust the process, to let go, and to surrender to life's flow is essential for your growth. I know of a Capricorn who, for years, felt the need to control every aspect of her life. Whether it was work, her home life, or her social interactions, she always had to have a plan and execute it precisely. This gave her a sense of safety but also left her feeling trapped and overwhelmed. After facing a significant life event, she realized that her constant need for control was not serving her anymore. She started letting go, taking things one step at a time, and trusting that not everything needed her hand in it. When she did, she found peace. Her relationships improved, her work became more fluid, and she began to feel lighter. The lesson here is clear: life isn't meant to be controlled. Capricorn. It's meant to be lived. Sometimes the best thing you can do is take a step back and let things unfold naturally. You don't need to plan every single detail. By learning to trust, you'll allow the universe to guide you, and that's when the real magic happens. As we wrap up this journey, Capricorn, remember that this June is an invitation for change. The universe is urging you to release those habits that have been weighing you down, whether it's self-criticism, emotional suppression, or the need for control. It's time to embrace a new way of being, one that allows for vulnerability, balance, and trust. You're ready for this shift, and the universe is on your side. If you've resonated with anything in this video, Capricorn, I encourage you to take these lessons to heart. Begin today. The changes you make now will pave the way for a more peaceful, fulfilling future. You deserve it. And as always, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Zen Mind Peaceful Life for more guidance on how to align your life with the stars and embrace your highest potential. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What changes are you ready to make this June? Keep shining, Capricorn. The best is yet to come.